JavaScript is a scripting language. It's very low ceremony. There's no static void main. Generally, you can just put some code in a file and run it. And in the case of JavaScript, the file that you put code in is typically a web page, though not always. JavaScript is the language of the browser. It was created as a lightweight language for scripting activity in a web browser, and that's still where it's mostly used. It's a dynamic language. That means that you can modify objects types on the fly. It's a language with both object-oriented and functional programming features, and that's a statement that's true of most modern languages, including things like Ruby, Python, C#. But in the case of JavaScript, it has some very specific support for functional programming built right in that make it a little bit different to work with. It has Java syntax, possibly due to the fact that JavaScript appeared around the same time that there was a lot of buzz about Java. But despite that syntax, it's not got a lot in common with Java, and the way that the language actually works has more in common with languages like Scheme and Self. The other thing that's important to note about JavaScript, it's very small, very compact, and really quite a simple language, which makes it fairly easy to learn. Ubiquity. JavaScript is everywhere. Nearly every computer in the world has a JavaScript interpreter, sometimes several of them. It is possibly the most used language on the planet. There's a lot of research going on at the moment in the area of JavaScript interpreters, and a lot of investment from Mozilla, Microsoft, Google, and Apple. JavaScript was almost forgotten for a while, and certainly not very interesting to most people until Ajax started to become popular and people started to demand more and more rich activity in the browser, and that really put the focus on JavaScript and trying to take it as far as we can. I say greatness there because JavaScript turns out to be a powerful, flexible, and highly expressive language. There's also lately been a lot of interest in using JavaScript on the server side, and this has come about because of the extremely powerful JavaScript interpreters that have been made available from open source browser projects, and also just because of the general increasing interest in the language. I've spoken already about the importance of JavaScript, and I mentioned the JavaScript rich clients. Now I want to demonstrate for you quickly just a couple of the more advanced JavaScript rich clients that are available. What you're looking at here is Google Docs, and I've opened up a new word processing document, and you can see it functions very much like the word processors you might be used to, like Microsoft Word. I can define things like headings and paragraphs. All the normal sort of text features are available. Bolding, italics, etc. There is even a drawing tool. That's not it. So I can say I want to insert a drawing in my document. Select a shape, draw it. Maybe I'll have an arrow as well. Another rectangle. There's a line drawing tool for creating curves, and then I can insert that straight back in my document. Also, as you would expect in a standard word processing application, I can insert hyperlinks. So I've just created a link to processing.js, which is another interesting rich client style JavaScript website. So processing JS is a JavaScript library for working with animations and drawings in web pages. The background of the header up here that you can see, it responds to my mouse. This is actually a demo of processing JS, animating these circles and lines, and I can influence the animation by clicking and moving around in there. There's also a demo of what you can do with processing JS. So this is balldropping.com. It's a simulated gravity environment with a ball of some description dropping there. I'm just going to slow that down a little bit, make it easier to see. And then I can draw on this canvas to affect what happens to the balls. It's a lot of fun. I could spend hours doing this. But you get the idea of, so this is 100% JavaScript, and so you get the idea of what's possible in terms of JavaScript rich interfaces. I've mentioned before that JavaScript performance is improving dramatically all the time. You do still have to exercise a little bit of caution. So in this example, you can see it's animating quite a few balls now. And it's very much possible to do this in JavaScript. But you have to be aware that possibly it's not the most efficient way to achieve these kind of animations. If I just open up my task manager, you'll see that this is a reasonably powerful machine, but this relatively simple demo animating at most, I'd say maybe a dozen balls, is pretty much using up all the resources on my machine. And that's in Chrome, which is probably the most efficient JavaScript browser at the moment. In Firefox, the performance is quite a bit worse, and in Internet Explorer, processing JS is currently not supported. The point I'm trying to make is that JavaScript is powerful and getting more powerful all the time, but there are limits, and you just have to keep that in mind.